Hine Matov Uma Naim Sheverachim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Uma Naim Sheverachim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Uma Naim Sheverachim Gam Yachad Hine Matov High kickin' Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad
Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
Almost Shabbat Shalom and welcome aboard, everyone. Happy you all came to daven by us, those living on the island, those visiting on the island, those who just came ashore on the island, as the case may be. Happy to have everyone here this evening and delighted to have all of you distance davening, virtually worshiping with us at home. We hope you made an opportunity before you jumped in to follow live stream from our website to download a copy of our satellite Siddur to keep you in orbit. It has the entire service top to bottom, and you're right up front on page 1. Those in-house, however, are not on page 1. You're on page 124. And let us begin our Kabbalat Shabbat, our preparation to welcome the Sabbath Queen, by reading together in the middle of page 124 what we've come to think of as our mission statement here at the Jewish congregation of Marco Island. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And let us say, Amen. As we turn back a couple pages to 121, Satellite Siddur, you're right on track. Sally Aronson, would you honor us, sweet sister, by coming forth? Benching a licht, we're going to make it Shabbat for real and officially. 121 in the prayer book. Source.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Let's continue reading together.
Bless
all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Thank you, ma'am. Everyone turn to the person closest to you didn't come with and say, Shabbat Shalom. A satellite Siddur, middle of page 2, and in-house in the big prayer book 142, we offer blessings to the Shabbat angels of blessing and peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalit, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barhuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And to page 144 in our prayer book, Chatzi Kaddish is our transition into our evening service.
God bless you. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirutei Ve'amlich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yomechon U'v'chayed kol beit Yisrael Ba'gala ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יש מרבם מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהלל 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 שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו
Page
אמן.
146, we rise for the call to worship.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Vaed.
Even as we rise out of respect when the judge enters a courtroom, when the king enters his throne to hold court, so we resume our seats as we turn to the next page. And I invite everyone on 148, 149, the Hebrew, the English, the two alternative prayers, choose one, dive deep, and in preparation and meditative preparation for the recitation of the Shema, to speak of the oneness of God, ponder for a moment the implication of these prayers, which speaks of God's unknowability as the transcendent creator of all things.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamarim Aravim. Avot olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shokbeinu u'b'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגן יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם נאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Geulah, page 156, 157. Choose a reading, and again, with risk of pun being whatever, the Song of the Sea, dive in deep and ponder the drama of the moment when the unknowable God becomes unknown, piercing the veil of mystery involving in history and redeeming our people from Egypt. They accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang you together, lifting their voices joyously.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסיף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסיף אלה. מלכותך רוב בניך, וכי היום לבלי משה, ואלי ענו ויאמרו, זה אילי ענו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. יא לה 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 יא לה 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 יא לה לה לה.
After the power and drama of the Song of the Sea, the serenity of a bedtime prayer on page 160. Ashkivenu Eloheinu Shalom. Lay us down in rest, O God. Tuck yourself in, pull the covers up, and read to yourself the words of the prayer in the language of your choice.
Adonai, Aboris Kol Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Aboris Kol Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom, ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, Aboris Kol Shalom, Shalom Aleinu,
Shalom Aleinu.
ve'al kol amo Yisrael. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו גרשתו שבת, חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
Now, on the one hand, and that's why God gave us two, Tefillah begins on page 164. But on the other hand, well, let's put it this way. Last week, we announced Rosh Chodesh. It was Shabbat Shekalim, Federation Shabbat. It was a ganze Megillah here. We had a lot of fun. This week is on the civil calendar, the first Friday of the month. Show me your excited faces. And that means that it's our celebration Shabbat. We are making a fuss this evening over all of our congregants, all of our friends and neighbors, those distance davening, whether you're members or not. If it happens to be your birthday in the month of March, what was the beer commercial? This bracha is for you. Right? We have Anthony and Mary Pinto. We're up to that anniversary on Wednesday. Al and Yvette Benarosh today, the 7th, and Michael and Nan Suffian coming up on the 24th later this month. Birthdays, Laura Vasecki, Alan Zuckerman, both born on the 1st of March. I didn't know they were twins. Such a deal. Paul Zwillerberg, the 2nd. Susan Daroff coming up the 12th. Betsy Berner on the 17th. Ray Bergman, the 24th. Tail end of the month, but not quite. It would be if it were February. The 28th, Lynn Nathanson. Anyone else have birthday or anniversary I didn't call out? Make a fuss over you. When? Kinohora, how old are you going to be? You know the story, this British court, they call up Yossel Rabinowitz to give testimony, and this beautifully dressed Haredi fellow with the long beard, the stremel, the kapote, the payas, the ganze Geschicht, comes walking up. The judge turns to the bailiff and says, "Would you summon the Yiddish translator?" So Mr. Rabinowitz takes his place in the dock, and he turns to the judge. The translator walks in. And Rabinowitz turns and says, "Your worship, I'm deeply grateful for your consideration and graciousness in assuming that I'd not be able to either understand nor communicate in the Queen's English, but I assure you, Your Excellency, my family have been British for 1,000 years, and I can speak English as well as yourself." The translator turns to the judge and says, "Hat gesagt." That wasn't the joke that goes with this, double take, but George Greenberg comes up to the stand, and the witness asks this doddering old man, "Tell me, Mr. Greenberg, how old are you?" He says, "I'm Kinohora, 83. The opposing counsel says, "I object." He was asked a simple question, just he should give a simple answer. So he said, again, Mr. Greenberg, tell me, how old, what is your age? And he says, I'm Kinohara 83. Counsel again insists. I object. He was asked a question, he didn't answer it. So counsel says, tell me, Mr. Greenberg, Kinohara, how old are you? He says, 83. So you can be however old you want to be on the 20th. But we get to be, here your JCMI virtual family. Through your mom and dad, you have roots here. Happy to have you with us this Shabbat. We get to be first in line to wish you a happy birthday. So all the birthday and anniversary people present in the room, rise. You are the one-woman antenna, the two-woman antenna, stereo, broadcasting this benediction to everybody in the JCMI family near and far. Chazan, take us there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
You want to know how much I love your family? I only know 6 jokes, and I just spent 2 of them on you. No, you remain standing, because everyone else is going to join you on your feet as we turn in our prayer books to page 164, and we rise for tefillah. And before we, however, virtually we wish to step apart from one another, let us begin by proclaiming together with one another the words of the psalmist, Adonai sfatai tiftach ufi agid tihilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Even as we conceptually stepped apart, we come back together in prayer. Mishiberach Admonotenu Abraham Sarah Yitzchak Berivka Yaakov Rachel Valeo Yevrechet Chelel Tzva Hagan al Yisrael Haomdim al Mishmar Arseinu Ba'ari Eloheinu Migvul Levanon Vad Midbar Mitzrayim Umin Hayam Hagadol Ad Levo Arava Bayavasha Ba'avir Uvayam Yiten Adonai et Oivenu Hakamim Alenu Nigafim Lifnehem הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה, מכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. יד ברצוננו תחתיהם, יתערם בכתר ישוע ועטרת ניצחון. יקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם, נילחם לכם עם אויביכם, נושיע אתכם ונאמר אמן. The one who blessed our forebears, bless the warriors of the Israel Defense Forces who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God. From the border of Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, from the great sea to the approach of the Arava, the land and air and sea. May the Almighty cause the hateful enemies who rise up against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy and Blessed One preserve and rescue our warriors from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, sending blessing and success on their every endeavor. May he lead our enemies under our soldiers' sway, granting them victory, crowning them with honorable victory, and save them. And may there be fulfilled for them the verse, for it is the eternal one, your God, who goes with you to battle your enemies for you to save you. And regrettably, we continue to pray more than 500 days into the mission. Achenu kol beit Yisrael, hanatunim b'tzara v'shvia, hamdim ben bayam uven v'yavasha, makom yirachem aleihem, yotzieh mitzara levracha, u'me'afela le'ora, Mashiach legula hashta va'agla v'zman karim v'nomar. As for brothers and sisters of the household of Israel, the friends of Israel who committed the terrible sin of being in the Jewish lands as friends and neighbors, who were taken away and remain still in distress and captivity, whether on sea or land. May God have compassion on them, bringing them from distress to relief, from darkness to light, from servitude to redemption at this moment, speedily and soon, and let us say, Amen. Amen. And finally, closer to home for members of our own community, for whom our prayers have been asked, for Leah Jacobson, Joan and Bert Thompson, Bert Posner, Freda Rosef, Roberta Schwartz, Jane Barron, Joanne Blau, Shirley Posner, Larry Satcher, Lydia Kruger, Frank Weinberg, Talara Batshira, Ron Duaron, Robert D'Onofrio, John Vernon, Jill Birch, Kayla Monasterio, Julie Fitzgerald, Susan Donahue, Margaret Gallivan, Pamela Michelle, Gary Singer, Marianne Mulligan, Peter Giori, Linda Gagnon, Christy Raymond, Tom Malota, Brandon Ben Sharon, Roger Andrzejewski, Eugene D'Onofrio, Edward Margulis, Teddy Emerson, Josh Plish, Jim Cusack, Nicole Jacobs, Rachel Kalu DeGron and her new baby, Mother and Child Healing, Steve Dukaman and Rosa Footlick. And anyone want to throw out additional names, please build our healing list.
Cindy Slavin.
Ruth Trugman, Joyce Goldstein, Suzanne Cito, John Sherman, Stuart Manish, Jerry Cohn, Harriet Weinstock, and Linda Raxis, Edie Gershman, and John Rashford. Dennis Kaplan.
Gary Karachi, Pete Karachi, Andy Burnham.
And for those at home, we don't have any qualms about yelling at the umpire when he makes what we think of a bad call. Don't be bashful about making a good call by broadcasting our way the names of those precious to you who are in need of healing. And however virtually, we will receive it as together with our cantor, we share this prayer for healing.
Strength
let us call forth our brother John Righteous to come introduce Kiddush this evening for us. Satellite Siddur, you're on board right in the middle of page 10, and those in-house, we're rewinding to page 123 for Shabbat Kiddush. Welcome up front, young man.
Thank you, Rabbi. Cantor. Everyone. On the seventh day is consecrated to the eternal God. On Shabbat, eternal sign of creation, remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving. Together, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'ri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabar kodsho be'ava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei chodesh, zecher l'siyat Mitzrayim, ki banu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
And between having conducted yourself so masterfully with that introduction to Kiddush, John, having read so beautiful and succinctly, and sipped the wine so well, and by virtue of having returned my card to me, so we have it again next week, you have the privilege of going around front and slicing up challah. What's up?
And while he's doing that, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
Up front, birthday girl, you get a slice of challah.
I think I'll go this way. Pardon my bow.
And later in the month, birthday girl. Now remember, you don't eat the end of the challah because then you have a baby boy. That's where babies come from. You eat the end of the challah, you're going to end up having a baby boy. We'll notify Guinness, thank you. We'll notify Guinness.
Give the birthday people first.
If I'm going to deliver a joke, I have to have the other half of it ready.
Please.
This is an official Bob challah. I'm telling you.
Good work.
You know, Mitch, we don't care if you stay a member of the congregation, but Bob's going nowhere. There's no Jewish life on the island without Bob.
I got it, don't worry.
Tell him the Rebbe hat gesagt.
Yeah, I know.
Let's watch your mind too. Okay, we got some
Now
challah
we
here.
need for the other side, and these ladies.
Okay, Phyllis is distributing.
It's her birthday.
But birthday girl gets first slice.
The other birthday. We have more coming.
Well, Phyllis is gonna walk around and I'm gonna walk around.
Okay, so I'm going this way.
because the
It's like
people
El Al,
don't
we
get
have
up.
in-flight service if you're good.
This is one
Good
hell of a,
slice. Bob Jarris made it.
one heck of a challah. I was gonna say one hell of a challah. I don't think that's appropriate.
Hanit, ראית את הסרט הזה, Operation Finale? Look for it on Netflix, זה מעניין. זה המוסד בארגנטינה בשנת 1960 לקחת את אייכמן. Really interesting story, a good adventure. Okay, oh, all right, never mind, forget I mentioned it then. I just happened to see it this week. You probably saw it 6 years ago when it came out. That's the problem with watching films on Netflix. There's something from 6 years ago. Operation Finale. It's the Israeli operation to arrest Eichmann and bring him to trial. Interesting insight into what happened and how, but more important, why. Years ago, the president of my congregation told me, "You're such a fancy pants. You got the IQ and the college degrees and the doctorate. You think it's just money. You're talking over people's head. You leave them in the dust. They don't know what you're talking about. Talk to them like they're all 8th graders." So I tried making my sermons a little more accessible, and Eric Yoffe, the president of the Reform Movement, said, "You're dealing with the most sophisticated, best educated population of Jews in the 4,000-year history of our people. Don't patronize them." They resented being talked to like 14-year-olds. So I just went back to being me. What intrigues me, though, is that rabbis teaching Torah on Friday night is a Shabbat evening sermon. Traditionally, giving sermons isn't a rabbinical function. In fact, I pointed out to the placement committee that brought me here in December of 2014 or 15 that traditionally rabbis only give sermons twice a year, on Shabbat Shuvah between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and Shabbat Hagadol just before Passover. I said, so that'll be my routine, right? And the whole committee went like this. They expected to hear something, so here I am doing something. But here's the thing. What I consider to be very superficial, straightforward, simple stuff that's accessible even for sophisticated, knowledgeable, well-educated Jews. That straightforward stuff that I'm putting together in a handy-dandy, convenient carrier case. We had the adult child visitor of one of our congregants several years ago wrote me a note that said, I'm just sort of Jewish and I'm blown away by the deep dive you took into this subject. I thought we're just skimming the surface like a pelican trying to get a couple of anchovies. So there's the dilemma. How much do we tackle on a Friday night in what's not supposed to be a lecture but a sermon? Well, as it happens, last week was Rosh Chodesh. Last week we announced the new moon. It was Shabbat Shekalim. As we've done now for the 10th year at JCMI, we invited the leadership of Federation to be here, and we made Shabbat Shekalim a time of traditionally talking about the mitzvah of tzedakah, a time to celebrate our relationship as part of, a component of, but also a partners with Jewish Federation of Greater Naples. So all of you, because he's so recently arrived, you're pretty much the first congregation really to have met our new president and CEO. His name is Nehemiah, but he goes by, like most Israelis, he's very casual and informal. He goes by Nami. But his last name is the one. People keep asking, is it Ichalov or Ikalov? You guys got the story straight last week. His father comes from a small Jewish community in the Central Asian republics of the former USSR. And on the big lake, there's an island called Chelov. And in Hebrew, Chelov means you're from the island of Chelov. So this is the family name. He's Nami Chelov. It's not Ichalov, it's not Ikalov. You're the only ones that know it is Chelov, with a don't spit on your neighbors when you say that. So last week, Carol and I are having a little dinner beforehand, before our service starts, with Nami Chelov, our new president and CEO, and the president, the chair of the Federation Board, who is officially Dr. Nathaniel, but he insists everyone call him Nat. And we're talking and discussing the philosophy that you can't be Jewish alone. If being Jewish were like being Irish or Italian or Polish or Yugoslavian, simply a national ethnic identity, who cares? And in fact, part of the dilemma of our time is that young adults, in this circle we define young as anyone under 40, young adults, every 10 years in the National Jewish Community Survey to understand our population and its changing dynamics, a significant number of young adults indicate that they are Jew-ish. Incidental identification, like an accident of birth and only a vague inclination. And if that's how you're Jewish, then I guess you can be Jewish any way you want and do it by yourself. But realistically speaking, since Jew is the English rendering of the German word Jude, which is the German rendering of the Hebrew name Yehudi. Jude is the Hebrew Yehudi, a Judean. Judah was the dominant son of our patriarch Jacob. He was the head of the family. He led Jacob into Egypt, and it is the tribe of Judah's chieftain, Bezalel, different chieftain leadership. The chieftain of the tribe of Judah, Nachshon, who was the first one into the sea when we left Egypt before the water parted. And Bezalel from the tribe of Judah, who barely 6 months later was the chief contractor on the job of building the Mishkan, the shrine, the prefabricated folding shrine that we built in the wilderness and took with us throughout our journeys. Judah, the dominant tribe, the leader, which is why we're called Jews, instead of Rubes after Reuven, who was the eldest. We collectively as the Jews, Ha-Yehudim. Next week we'll be telling the story of, and you'll watch for it, listen and telling the story, reading the Megillat of Esther. The story, the scroll of the story for the holiday of Purim, which we'll be observing that night. Notice that I'll try to avoid saying Jews. I'll keep saying Judeans, because in the 5th pre-Christian century in Persia, throughout the Persian Empire, we were the Yehudim, the Judeans, wherever we happen to be. A shared identity. You can't be Jewish alone. Everyone knows the story of the fellow who's stuck on a desert island, and when they rescue him 20 years later, to keep his sanity, he's taken the bamboo and the vines, and he's built himself a whole little village. He's got a library, he's got a town hall, he's got a school, and he's got a synagogue to daven in, facing Jerusalem. The rescuers say, well, what's that building next to it with the Magen David on the top? And he says, that's the other synagogue. I wouldn't set foot in there. We love to subdivide ourselves on imagined guidelines of ideology. Maybe it's the Jew structure. Maybe it's the rabbi's a jerk. Maybe it's the fact that you like the cantor over there better. Nobody likes the cantor better than ours. But we subdivide and insist on subdividing. While a push comes to shove, tradition holds that when the ocean divided for us to walk through with the Egyptians pursuing us, Midrash says it opened into 12 channels. Because none of the, we were B'nai Yisrael, the Israelites, the children of Israel, but for 400 years of servitude in Egypt, we still held our tribal identity, and no one tribe wanted either the dishonor of having to be last through the ocean or the dubious honor of being first in to drown. So God divided the ocean into 12 channels. Each tribe could go through it. You want to subdivide, you want to be your own kind of Jew, fine. You go through your channel, but guess what? 2 things. One, the walls of water between each channel were small enough and thin enough that it was like glass, and we could see right through and see all the other tribes marching right along with us. And once we got through the divided sea on the other side, we all walked on together to Mount Sinai, where we met God together. Every process in Jewish life, corporate, collective, communal, it takes a community. That was our tribute cake, celebrating and welcoming Nami Ichalov. No guarantee we'll have another sheet cake next year when he comes back, February 16th for Federation Shabbat. Put it on your calendar. I mean, he was here. We'll have oneg. I do have to tell you, however, that Nat Ritter, the board chair, sent me a thank you note for us having him and says the joy of interacting as official Federation head for this Shabbat Shekalim, Federation Shabbat at JCMI, is a treat and a privilege he's been looking forward to for 2 years till his turn came up to be in charge. We are a prize, and we're proud of that. It takes a community. The slogan for our federation that was on our cake last week, welcoming them both, power of community. And that's why, as I used to teach to the intermediate grades in the school, I hate the life cycle books they give the kids to learn about how Jews do stuff, because it starts with birth and it ends with death. That's not a life cycle, that's a lifeline. Your personal lifeline with a beginning and an end. But okay, we'll buy into the fantasy. We'll humor the idea that that's a life cycle. What makes it a life cycle is circumcision. You need not only a practitioner, if you yourself are not a urologist trained, but you also need a minyan, a community, to whom you present yourself as fulfilling the obligation of circumcising your son on the 8th day of life, and also to whom to present your son as the newest member of that community. And 13 years later, you don't get bar mitzvahed. Insofar as you do, that's a matter of turning 13. You're old enough. It's like you're no longer a minor when you turn 18 or 21. You're old enough to be tried as an adult, whether or not you go out and officially ceremonially buy your first legal drink. 13, you don't need background, training, coaching, and prepping to actually lead or fake your way through one service. You need a congregation to whom you present yourself saying, there will be a future to the Jewish people because I will build it. You need a minyan. For a marriage, you don't need a rabbi. You need at least 2 witnesses to sign the ketubah and certify that the bride and groom have betrothed each other. For a funeral, can you imagine you can't die, you need a rabbi to say that you're dead? How stupid is that? For a funeral focuses on the mourners. That's why this is a life cycle. And you need a minyan to say amen to your Kaddish. This is the benignly manipulative dynamic of Jewish life. You can't just say the Kaddish prayer out of the book. You need to have a community so that at the end of every paragraph you say v'imru and they say amen. It is our tradition's way of seeing to it that we do not navigate this most horrific milestone in life, death and grieving by ourselves. Every endeavor since we left Egypt, marching together through 12 channels and then joining up on the other side, every community endeavor in Jewish life is communal, corporate. Our Torah portion that we read this week, wrapping up, tail end for the book of Exodus. Next week we start Leviticus, something to look forward to. Blood, sacrifices, leprosy, nocturnal emissions, all the more uplifting things in life. And if you're brave enough to slog through it, you get to do Carol's bat mitzvah portion, the holiness code, Kedoshim. But we wrap up Exodus. We spent last week, the week before, and part of this week, we're getting all the specifications for the Mishkan, the sacred shrine we'll take with us through the wilderness. And we're told that when Moses sets it up, all the sub-assemblies, all the components that all the Israelites have been making, we talked about in our Torah study last week, the metal workers, the lapidaries, the woodworkers, the weavers, the craftspeople of every conceivable kind from all 12 tribes. Carol's a quilter. She likes the textile stuff. A weaver from Dan and a weaver from Naphtali and a weaver from Judah and a weaver from Benjamin, all sitting side by side, cheek and jowl, talking about what it was like being in Egypt while they're weaving together to the glory of God. All of these different people from all these different backgrounds with their various sub-assemblies and components that was described by God to Moses, by Moses to Bezalel, by Bezalel to the subcontractors, and by them to these people doing the weaving and the casting and the sawing and the planing and the prepping. They bring all the sub-assemblies together. Moses directs how to put it together. And a cloud descends as God takes up residence in the presence of every member of the community, saying, yes, I am dwelling in your midst. So here's my question. Why does God visibly, dramatically move in? You're getting ready to move out. You're getting ready to move in. We Jews keep coming and going. That's why this fall we have Shabbat, Ki Tetzeh and Ki Tavo side by side, a week apart. We never know whether we're coming or going. Why does God move in and take up residence? They plugged it in, they turned it on, and it worked. Why? Is it because Moses listened so carefully? Is it because Bezalel paid attention to the details? And the answer to those, thank you, rhetorical questions. God was willing dramatically to move in and take residence in the presence of the entire Israelite community to reward us for our faith, our loyalty, our cooperation. And because we learned so early in our national history, at the other end of our history, the lesson that we all worked across class distinctions and tribal identifications and political perspectives. We all worked to make it happen together. Shabbat Shalom.
Can you hear me okay like this? No, this should be okay. Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Greetings from our Board of Directors and a few announcements. I welcome visitors worshiping with us tonight, and I invite you to stay on hand for the Oneg Shabbat following services. Tonight's Oneg was coordinated by Joanne Blau, Mitch Braun, Bob Jarrett, Sandra Heckler, Barbara Holtz, Phyllis Rosenblum, Linda Reitzes, Leila Silverberg, and Raman Singer. Our lovely flowers are sponsored by Stephen and Carol Roberts in memory of Lewis Roberts, Stephen's father. Current details of everything going on in congregational life can be found on our website, in our monthly newsletter, The Messenger, and in the semi-weekly email notifications we send out to membership. Tonight, I remind everyone, Melissa and Z will be on vacation March 10th and 17th and will return to the office on the 18th. Rabbi Gross's last second Sunday lifelong learning series of the season will be Sunday, March 9th at 10 a.m.
Day after tomorrow.
BG's concert will be Saturday, March 15th at 7:30 p.m. You can purchase tickets on jcmimusic.com. The last film of the season, America, will be Sunday, March 16th at 2 p.m. A reception will follow the film. You can also purchase tickets online at jcmimusic.com or at the door. And Esther, do you want to say a word or two about the film?
You want me to?
Sure.
Microphone or no? No?
They won't know online if you do it from over there. Our distance daveners might want to come in for the film.
Okay, all right. So, I can tell you what it's not. It's not a Holocaust film. It's not a war film. It's an Israeli film. And it is a human film. So, if you can put yourselves back in time to when you were in your 20s and you were in love, shed our crusty old skins and get lost in this world of he, and she. There is trauma. There is a coma. There are addressing issues of immigrants, a lot of food, and beautiful flowers. It's beautifully filmed. I haven't seen it. This is a Steve Goldenberg choice. However, it did open the film festival both in New York and Miami. So I think we're going to be in good company. It does have subtitles. I will try my best next year to see if I can avoid those. A lot of people, it's harder. But the female lead won the Israeli Academy Award for this portrayal. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you join me.
The next Women's Book Club will be March 18th at 11 a.m. here at JCMI. The book of the month is Honor by 30 Umagar. All are welcome, including men, and you're welcome even if you didn't read the book. Our 43rd annual Congregational Passover Seder will be Saturday, April 12th. There are flyers throughout the building and on our website at marcojcmi.com, and please RSVP for the Seder by April 4th. We have Monday night bingo every Monday night. Doors open at 5:30. Join us, tell and bring your friends. Anthony Pinto Jr.'s honey is on sale at the office for $15. A portion of the sale goes to the temple. The office is selling memorial yahrzeit candles. Do not forget to bring in food for those in the community less fortunate when you come on Fridays, or leave a donation in the tzedakah box, and I thank you for that. And now, as we move to the conclusion of tonight's service, I invite to the bema our final honorees, Natalie Klein and Leslie and John Moser. Please reopen our prayer books to page 586 and rise together for Elena.
About what? Speaking of everything coming together because of community, tonight's special Oneg Shabbat is a tribute to our past president, Sue Baum, who continues to hold so many wonderful things together here, personally pulling parking lot duty, juggling bingo, and really setting the tone for the community. She is our Betzalel. So Sue, special Oneg to Sue for all you do. And a reminder again, a week from tonight, I gave you fair warning last Friday. You got 2 weeks to plan your Purim costume. You're down to 1 week now. There will be a prize for best costume and most outrageous noisemaker. I give the warning every year. I don't care that this is an island where everybody has a boat. Boat horns don't count. I want something flamboyant.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Thank you, crew. Our Kaddish prayer on page 598. Your satellite Siddur, you're on page 12. As a tribute on this Shabbat to Alan Kaplan, long ago former member, laid to rest this week, whose family observes this Shabbat as part of the week of Shiva. We name as well Shiri Ariel and Kfir Bibas, Ruth Duaron, Linda Gashvain, Rodney Shmael, Sig Migden, Harry Shapiro, and Etta Gluzband, whose families observe yet the month of Shloshim, as well as these, the anniversaries of whose deaths were observed during the week now ending. Esther Blutfield, Esther Bragman, Isabel Cooperman, Manny Davis, Ruth Edelstein, Irving Greenberg, Abby Henkin, Harold Hollander, Stephen Horowitz, Arthur Joel, Betty Joel, Ruth Joel, Celia Shapiro Khan, Bubbles Katz, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Kazaskov, my great-grandfather, Ronald B. Klein, Selma Lubin, Elaine Stein Molowitz, Verona Perlman, Rose Rosenfield, Martin Seltzer, Eli Sherman, Arthur Emmanuel Wilfond, and Manuel Wold. And we have Avelu to Yartzeit in addition. Zichronam Livracha, may remembering them be always a blessing. It Gadal Vid Gadash Shemei Rabba, Yalma Divrach Yirute Vyamrich Malchute. חייכון ויומכון חיי דכל בית ישראל. הגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיים. וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו. עשה שלום במרומיו. יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. May the maker of peace on high make peace for us, for all Israel, for those who mourn, and let us say. Amen. And let's close this evening on page 625, Satellite Siddur. You're on page 12. I don't know if you were there before, but you are now.
אדון עולם,
Adon olam,
השם מלך,
asher malach,
בטרם כל,
b'terem kol,
יציר נברא,
yitzir nivra,
לעת נשא,
le'et nasa,
וחפצו כל,
chepso kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא together, ואחרי ככלות
You can
הכל,
also dance the whore in the aisles if you want.
לבדו ימלוך נורו, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם,
Adon olam,
השם מלך,
asher malach,
בטרם כל,
b'terem kol,
יציר נברא,
yitzir nivra,
לעת נשא,
le'et nasa,
וחפצו כל,
chepso kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא together, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להכבירו, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרח. אדון עולם,
Adon olam,
השם מלך,
asher malach,
בטרם כל,
b'terem kol,
יציר נברא,
yitzir nivra,
לעת נשא,
le'et nasa,
וחפצו כל,
chepso kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אלי וחי גולי, וצורכב לי בעת צרו, והוא ניסי מנוס לי, מנער כוסי ביום אקרא. אדון עולם,
Adon olam,
השם מלך,
asher malach,
בטרם כל,
b'terem kol,
יציר נברא,
yitzir nivra,
לעת נשא,
le'et nasa,
וחפצו כל,
chepso kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא, בידו כי רוחי, בעת ישן ויהירו, ואם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. אדון עולם,
Adon olam,
השם מלך,
asher malach,
בטרם כל,
b'terem kol,
יציר נברא,
yitzir nivra,
לעת נשא,
le'et nasa,
וחפצו כל,
chepso kol,
אזי מלך שמו
Turn to the person who said it to you earlier and say it back to them. Shabbat shalom.